If I were to describe the island in one word, it would probably have to be ants. Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a book review that I have been waiting to do. I'm really excited. It's actually funny because I originally talked about this book that I'm sure you've seen in the title because that's why you clicked on this, for Summerween. So I started it in Summerween at work because I was so bored at work and you're allowed to have headphones in. So normally I listen to podcasts. I listen to true crime podcasts, but I was in the mood for any, so I was like, you know what, we're gonna try an audiobook. I have 1,000,000 credits, so let's get The Island. It was a wild ride of a book. I'm just gonna start off by saying that. It was a wild ride. It is not a book for everybody. Yeah. But it was fun. I had a fun time reading it. Anyway, let's get into the plot about The Island for anyone who might not know and might want to go read it. The Island follows a family of 4, and it is a bit of an odd family dynamic. Odd as in, I just have to explain it more than family of 4. But there's Tom, the husband, Heather, the new wife, who I think is like 20 years younger than Tom, and Tom's 2 children. I think Olivia is 14. I don't remember how old Owen was. Like 10, 9, 10, something like that. And obviously the kids don't really like the new wife that much. They want their mom, but unfortunately their real mom, I don't like saying real mom, but there you go, biological mom. Their biological mom passed away after an accident at home where she fell down the stairs. So they've been a family for a little while with Heather trying to impress the kids, and the kids kind of just are like, no thanks. I mean, Olivia's only 10 years younger than Heather, so it's a difficult dynamic. So, and Heather really never wanted kids. She's too young, but she really loves Tom, so she's like, you know, I'm gonna try my best. And she does. She tries her best for these kids when a lot of people probably wouldn't. But they decide to tag along with Tom to Australia. Tom is some top-notch, I don't remember if it's orthopedic, he's some type of surgeon, doctor, or whatever. And he has a big conference in Australia, so Heather and the kids decide to tag along to try and have like a big family thing. Vacation. That word. That thing that I haven't been on this year. Which I really want to go on. But they tag along. Heather and the kids really want Tom to do some sort of activity with them because he's been busy with conference things, and so he finally is like, fine, whatever. And the kids want to go see koalas. They want to go see freaking koalas. This is what starts this whole mess. But Tom's like, fine, whatever, we're gonna see your freaking koalas. And they don't see any. And they're out somewhere looking for the wildlife, can't see any wildlife. This other couple is kind of with them, this Dutch couple. No one's seeing anybody. No one's seeing anything. So these locals overhear them talking and are like, hey, we have a private island that's chock full of koalas. You pay us a buttload of money, we ferry you over to the island, and you take your little pictures, you got 20 minutes, and we'll ferry you back. Yeah, deal. So Tom begrudgingly pays them a buttload of money that really is not worth it. And them in their cars, and the Dutch family's car, they are ferried over to this little private island where there are supposedly koalas. And I can tell you right now, no koalas. There are no koalas. While over on this island, unfortunately, there is an event that happens. And they break the laws of this little private island that's run by these locals. And unfortunately, the locals decide to enact revenge or their own form of justice. So the family gets stuck on the island, and for the rest of the book, it's kind of like a chase, like trying to survive, getting away from people, wreaking havoc. That's kind of the whole story without spoilers. But it is very high energy, fast paced. It's constantly, there is something happening. So I had a hard time giving this a rating. My rating fluctuates between 2 and a 4 depending on what I'm feeling at the moment. And honestly, the 2 is only because, and this is, I wouldn't say a spoiler, but it's a warning. It is a trigger warning. A lot of people have this trigger. animal death. There are dog deaths that are described, and one of them is kind of like, I really didn't like it. There's no like torture. There's no torture of them. They die quickly. It's instant, but it's still just, I had a little bit of trouble with it. Like I had to stop listening for a little bit because it was, one of them is quite gruesome, but again, no torture, just instant deaths. I did have less trouble with the animal deaths than usual. Normally, if I know there's a dog that dies or something, I will stop reading the book because I can't take it. It makes me think of my dog and it freaks me out, and it like, I can't do it. So I didn't know there were any dog deaths in this. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because it did not affect me as much because it was part of her survival. Like, it wasn't just gratuitous animal death. It was, if this didn't happen, they probably wouldn't survive. So, and because it was instant deaths and no torture, I felt a little better about it. I still didn't like it, but I felt a little better about it. So kind of take that as you will if that's one of your triggers, but that is definitely something that happens, and it is kind of drawn out. Like, it is a big portion of the book, especially in the audiobook. Like, they put it to music and rain and everything. So just keep that in mind when you're reading it. There is a section of that, and you can always skip it if you know it's coming. So take that as you will. But there is, that was pretty rough. So that's kind of why I fluctuate between a 2 and a 4, because the story for me and the wildness and the entertainment value was a 4. But then I keep knocking down to a 3 because the dogs, and then some days it's 2 because I'm like, I really didn't want that to happen because it freaked me out. But I think if I had to be honest and I did not think about the animal deaths, I'd probably give it like a 4. It was wildly entertaining, and I retold the entire plot to my husband, and he was like, what is happening in this book? This is wild. And I was like, yes, it is a wild book. It's been a while since I read something like this. But anyway, so that's kind of my rating and why I gave it my rating. And I mean, it's definitely thrilling, fast-paced. It will definitely keep you gripped during the oftentimes bonkers plot. Like, there are some crazy things that happen. It definitely felt that you were trying to like survive along with the characters, which is really cool. Like, you feel like their thirst, their hunger, their desperation to survive, and I thought that was really neat. So this is, I would say, is like a survival thriller kind of thing going on. I would not recommend this for anybody who doesn't like anything over the top. If you don't like over the top, if you don't like almost caricature characters, I would not, because the kids are a lot. The kids are, they're really annoying at the beginning. They get a lot better. They change a lot throughout the book, but oh my gosh, they are like caricatures of children. Oh, they are annoying. And all the male characters are caricatures of men. I swear to God, I thought this was written by a woman. I thought this was written by a woman who hates men. Because every single man in this book is either evil or wildly incompetent. I am not kidding you. Every man in this is just awful. So I was like, man, this author really hates men. And then I was listening, I don't remember whose booktube it was, but they said they were surprised that they found out the author was a man. And I was like, what? This is a man? Well, he really hates other men. So it was wild. It was wild how much I thought this person hated men, which cracked me up. I thought it was funny, but also frustrating because these male characters are so obnoxious. It was also quite graphic and violent in some scenes, so if you don't like any type of blood or violence or graphic violence, I would not suggest this, because it was, there were some parts that I was like, ugh. Ooh, because I'm not super into graphic violence. I tend not to like stuff that's very, very violent, and this was very violent at points. Most of the time it was running away, but when there were confrontations and stuff, it was detailed. It was detailed, the violence. So keep that in mind. Now, people I think who should read this, people who want a fast-paced thriller, it is so quick. I think the audiobook was like 8.5 hours. Very quick to get through, and it kept you entertained the whole time. You're not going to be flipping through pages thinking, okay, when's the next thing gonna happen? That's not gonna happen. There's always something going on. I mean, there's a part with a shark. That's like, there's like a part where they're hiding, which should be kind of boring, but the author throws a shark in there because it wasn't tense enough. So, so yeah, fast-paced thriller, chase thriller if you like those types of things. If you are looking for a quick, fun audiobook, like if you're like me and you don't do well with audiobooks, if you want something that's quick and fun, I would definitely suggest this one. This one kept me pretty entertained once you get through. It does start a little slow, but then once the thing happens, it picks up really fast. So you kind of just have to get to that point, and then you won't be able to put it down. So that, if you want an audiobook that's pretty good, there's rain sounds, gun sounds. The author does a bunch of different voices that actually feel like they belong to different characters. So she does a great job. Highly suggest the audiobook. And if you're looking for one, that's who I suggest this to. And then obviously people who enjoy chase escape thrillers. If you enjoy that type of thriller, this is exactly what you want. It is a constant chase, survival kind of thing going on. Not a lot of mystery. So if you're more into those chase ones, highly suggest this one as well. And those are kind of my thoughts on the book, because there's not a lot that goes on other than, I mean, she's running from these evil people. She's trying to figure out what to do, etc. Oh, there is one thing I will bring up, because it's something I brought up in a Summerween video that I want to, I guess not correct, but I didn't understand it at the time. So when I originally was reading this book, it seemed like she was reading or writing about the Aboriginal people, because they, basically the people on this island follow their own rules, seem really just idiotic. I mean, think like the hills have eyes kind of thing going on. So, which I thought, I was like, for a minute, I was like, is there gonna be cannibalism? What's going on? So, I thought that she was writing with the Aboriginal people, and I was like, this is not a good look. Or she, I keep saying she, see, I think it's a female author. The author kept writing, I thought was writing about Aboriginal people, and I was like, this is not a good look for you. This is not a good look. You should not have done this. Turns out the people now on the island, like, took it from Aboriginal people. So I was like, okay. Okay. Thank you for, like, clarifying that, because that was not clear to me, and I was like, this is not nice to the Aboriginal people, making them seem like barbarians, because that's a stereotype. Like, people think that they're like that. So, whew, I was glad that she, like, clarified that and made it a point to say that in the book, that she wanted to take it away from the people that now lived on the island, who took it away from the Aboriginal people. So I was like, okay, we're good. We're good. I get it now. I was very concerned that this was going to be a 1-star because I can't, no, that was just a no. It was very cringy when I was thinking it that way. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on it that are non-spoilery. So for people who have not read it, that's kind of my take on it. It is almost like a locked room thriller, escape, stuck on an island, can't get off. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I definitely would say stop the video now and go watch that. Otherwise, if you're sticking around, I'm gonna put that little spoiler bar up. You know we love it, and we're gonna be talking about some of the spoilers of the book. As usual, I don't tend to go through everything, because that would be just me literally reading the book to you. We're gonna go through my memorable moments, the moments that make the book, that leave with you when you stop reading it. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's get into the spoilers. Technically, there's not any like real spoilers. Like, there's nothing that is going to really shock you except for a few things at the end, unless you saw it coming, which again, I don't think this book was trying to hide anything from you. It wasn't trying to make you like, oh my gosh. It was more like, this is happening and then this is happening. They were so busy that they didn't notice this was happening. So that's kind of what was going on. And so spoilers is more like just events that happen, events that stuck with me. But anyway, the big event that happens at the beginning that sets this whole book off is Tom runs a woman over with his car on the island. I was not expecting that. When I watched other people's booktube videos, like their vlogs that have this in it, they kept going, the event that happens, the event that they break the rules, they break the rules. And I'm sitting there going, they like steal a piece of candy, something stupid that's gonna set this whole thing off. Oh no, Tom got turned around. So, like I said, the male characters are jerks. Heather, the wife, tries to tell him, go this direction. I know he came from this direction because they got lost on the island. Go this direction, that's back to the ferry. Tom goes, I'm going to go the other direction. Even though he doesn't seem sure, but obviously his wife could not be right. So he goes the other direction, gets confused, starts turning around and drives down the road and just whop into this woman and just absolutely mangles her. Just no chance of survival. Heather has to crawl out of the car, kind of takes command of the situation. Kind of like saw that something weird was going on this island, so she didn't want to be like, hey, we murdered one of your townsfolk. We murdered her, so we're gonna like tell you, and then we're just gonna go over to the main island and get the police. So they hide her body in a ditch that the car had fallen into. Oh, which is wild. So they get onto the ferry, they almost make it out. Obviously they find the dead body, drag them to like their town square thing, like it's this big house that they live in, and basically hold a tribunal. Like, what are we gonna do with them? And the person in charge was Ma, some Irish woman who came over here, and she's the one who kind of like started the whole like new group of people on the island. And so they make like a deal that Tom's gonna go get a buttload of money while Heather and the kids stay here, get a bunch of money, and then bring it and pay them off. Because they don't believe they're Americans, they're gonna get off scot-free. We need some sort of actual retribution. So they make a deal to make money. Yeah, the husband of the woman who died was not cool with that and runs in and stabs Tom. And I was like, oh, okay. And Heather freaks out, obviously, and everyone's freaking out because now what? We just stabbed somebody, so obviously we can't let them leave. And the Dutch people are still wandering around on the island somewhere because they haven't found them. So they are trying to decide what to do. And it gets really creepy at this point. There's like a little pedophilic moment here that's ugh. One of the husband of the woman who died wants Olivia, the 14-year-old, to replace his wife. And I'm like, how about we don't? How about we don't do this? Because, that's yucky. No, you gross. No. So eventually they're kind of trying to figure to work things out. They find the Dutch people and they tie all of them up in like this barn, something like that. And Heather was lucky enough to have gotten like a penknife somehow through security. Yeah, there's no way she would have gotten that through security or through TSA, whatever. But she supposedly got it through security and has it on. That's like the most unbelievable part of this book, is that she got a penknife through the TSA. Especially with those new like nude machines that they make you stand in and they take pictures of you naked. So there's no way that would have been in her back pocket. But I'll let that go. And she has a penknife, uses it to untie herself, gets the kids untied, convinces the Dutch people, because like I said, this author, I swear, hates men, because Hans is like, we're just going to stay here. This is not America. This is Australia, and we have rules here. They're not going to do anything. And Heather's like, they killed Tom. Why wouldn't they kill you? So Hans is like, no. But Liesel, the wife, is like, get me out of here. I'm not stupid. He may be stupid, but I'm not stupid. So Heather ends up convincing them, and they all kind of run off, and I think they make it, through like half a day before Hans is huffing and puffing and like, I don't want to do it. And they're in like really good shape. But he's upset. He's mad. He thinks he's better than everyone because he's Dutch. I'm kidding. I like the Dutch. I'm kidding. But he's like, this is not how the world works. I'm just going to surrender myself and they'll let us go. They'll understand. We didn't have anything to do with Tom hitting that woman, so it's on you. Liesel's sitting there going, you can march your ass down there. I'm not going anywhere. You crazy. So Hans goes down there. You hear yelling, gunfire. And they kind of, the rest of the group runs away. Liesel's kind of upset, but she's also like, I'm not stupid. I'm not going down there. So Hans chose his life. I'm choosing mine. So they finally hear cars. and there's whooping and hollering and screaming, and Heather goes down there to check out what's going on, and Liesl goes with her, and they see Hans tied to the front of the truck alive, screaming, and they're running into stuff with him on the front of their truck. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And apparently they're doing this because Hans won't tell them the location of the rest of the group, because, I mean, he doesn't know where they are. But also, I mean, good on Hans. Like, you're being a brat, but good on you for not ratting your own wife out and the children. So, kind of move on. They're doing survival stuff, trying to figure out what's going on. Heather goes find water, and she ends up at this, like, old security guard's house, and he used to work at, like, the prison that was on the island. And the security guard doesn't end up helping them, but also doesn't hinder them really in any way. So Heather's able to get some water and make it out and get back and replenish, like, their stuff. I honestly thought that this guy was going to be more important, but I don't think he was brought, maybe at the very end he was brought up, but he really wasn't brought up ever again in the book. And I was like, oh, that was a little anticlimactic. I thought he was going to be actually in the book. It was kind of weird. But anyway, oh gosh, there's a lot of running and hiding at this point. So the dogs are here. Dogs are an issue. They're tracking them. Heather's pretty sure they're tracking her. So Liesl, to save the kids, because she apparently always wanted kids and Hans didn't. Like I said, I swear the author hated men. Liesl takes Heather's shirt, runs off to distract the dogs to let them get away. That was honestly a very emotional part, because Liesl was, I really liked Liesl, and I was really sad about that happening. So that was sad. So at this point, they're running around on the island. They end up coming in contact with the main evil guy. There's like one person in the family who's like unhinged and just enjoys killing and maiming and doing crazy things. And Heather ends up getting in a fight with him and ends up killing him, which gives her his radio, which is important, and his weapon, which is also important. So the smart guy of the other family begins to talk to Heather, trying to talk to her on the radio, saying, hey, something's going on, you need to come talk to us. And Heather's like, screw you guys. Screw you guys. So she devises a plan to go rampage on the farm. So she goes back to the farm. This is the part where she kills the dogs. Oh, Blue's death was traumatizing. She blows his head off and he keeps walking. And I'm like, that was traumatizing. And I hated that she killed the dogs, because the dogs didn't do anything. Like, I get it. You had to survive. I understand it at least. But they're little doggies. I didn't like that. I don't like any books that have animal violence in it. I just don't like it. Most of the time, I don't think it's necessary. In this book, which is probably why it didn't affect me as much as it felt necessary, because they 100% would have got caught with those dogs running around. Because they were on the island still a little bit longer after the dogs deceased. Anyway, so she, before she does that, I forgot, she goes to the ant pit, because they had been talking, she overheard them talking about putting Hans in an ant pit. And this is why I said I would describe the book in one word, because this is going to haunt me for the rest of my life, this part. Oh my gosh. She gets to the ant pit. Hans and Liesl are both dumped in this red ant pit, or whatever type of ants these are, and they were just crawling all over them. Liesl's obviously dead. The skin is removed from her body. And she sees Hans move. Hans is still alive somehow. The ant's eating him alive. And I'm just, I could not. So she goes over to him, saying, I'm going to save you. We're going to get out of here. And Hans is like, no, I'm already dead. They cut open my stomach. I can feel the ants inside of me. So he tells her he has 2 requests before she leaves. Number 1, please kill me, because I don't know how much I have a couple hours left, but I don't want to, I'm sitting in pain. And then there's one other request, and you find out that genius Hans, who I hated, who turns out to be a mastermind, has her dump his body in the aquifer system and poisons the water system, which is the only water that they have on the island, so it poisons everybody. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're drinking dead body water. Oh, Oh gosh. That's why I said ants. Ants is my descriptor for this book, because that is what is going to stick with me, that whole scene. Oh. But yeah, so that happens, and then she goes and kills the dogs, and then she leaves, or she blows up the diesel fuel, whatever it's called. So she blows that up, so they're running out of gas and whatever to run the cars. But she gets away, and she hears on the walkie-talkie, "What have you done? Blah, blah, blah. You killed my dog, and you didn't even know Tom's still alive." That was like the big twist. I kind of figured it was coming because I was wondering what was going on there. But Tom is still alive, so Heather's like, crap. So they make a deal. They've already worked a deal out with him, supposedly. Tom is gonna go get the money with the kids. Heather's gonna stay here as a hostage. And Heather's like, I want to talk to Tom first, alone. Like, she hears him on the walkie-talkie, like, knows he's alive. I want to talk to him alone. I want to have a meeting with him so he can tell me exactly what's going on. Or she goes and talks to the kids. And you find out Owen saw his dad not do anything to save the mom after she fell down the stairs. I was a little unclear on this part because Owen made it seem like he pushed her down the stairs because they were fighting or something, and he wasn't supposed to be home, so they had no idea. But then Heather kind of made it sound like what probably happened is that Owen just saw her fall down the stairs and saw his father do absolutely nothing to save her, and kind of just like pictured that. So I don't know, I was a little confused about that part, but it seems like Tom didn't push her, but he didn't do anything to save her either. So negligence. Still kind of murder. I don't know. And who knows if he could have done anything to save her, because it's a little kid telling her like what happened. So I don't know, but I'm getting like murder vibes off, like the staircase vibes. Because that's kind of where I thought that was going. I was like, anyone who falls down a staircase is bad news in true crime and thriller things. It's almost always not an accident. So the kids basically are like, we want to stay with you. We want you to be careful. We don't want to go with Dad, because they don't trust him. And you could tell they didn't trust him a lot throughout the book, but they don't trust him, and they trust Heather because Heather has kept them alive this whole time. So Heather goes to the meeting point where she's going to meet Tom supposedly, and she sees that it's a trap. She's like, I can see that it's a trap. You guys are in foxholes down there. You're going to shoot me the second I get down there. So, and then she says Tom, fiddling with the radio, realizes there's no batteries in it. Tom starts screaming for Heather and the kids to run away. Don't come here. It's a trap. Which I was impressed with. So where I thought this book was going is that Tom sold them out. I thought Tom was going to get off the island and basically leave Heather to them, because Heather's caused so much issues that they want to kill her. So I thought that Tom was just going to save his own skin and maybe his kids. I don't even know who's going to save his kids. But that's not what happened. He actually did like yell for them to run, not to come near him. So I was actually pretty happy with that. I was gonna be kind of sad if it was the obvious I'm gonna save my own skin kind of thing. So that made me feel a little better about Tom as a character. And it also made me believe more likely he didn't push her and it was more of a shock kind of thing and just didn't do anything like he should have, because he's a doctor. They left that kind of like unknown. Anyway, so Heather is almost gonna run away, but she sees that they have a thing of gasoline and they pour it over Tom. So she takes the last bullet in her gun and shoots Tom. And I was like, oh my gosh. They went there, and it was amazing. It was amazing, and oh my gosh. Do you know how hard that would be to kill your own husband to save him from like a painful death? Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. And she was just like, let's go. I mean, she was in full survival save the kids mode, so she was like, I don't want to see him suffer, let's go. And then I would say that was like, well, she has like a run-in with Matt where Matt shoots her, but they're able to put him in a trap and whatever. But I feel like that was like the last big moment that I really like stuck in my memory, and the rest of it was them fighting Matt, that one moment, the owner of Blue, and getting away and then getting home. So I mean, and they survived. It was happy, etc. She had an old bullet wound, whatever. But oh my gosh, like I was so stuck on the moment she killed Tom and the ants thing that the last like half an hour of the book I was like, Okay. But what about the ants? The ants are still stuck in my head. So the end of the book just kind of went by quickly, and I was like, okay, we're done. They escaped. Good. So that was a wild ride. But yeah, so those are all spoilers. And yeah, there was a lot that happened. I was explaining this to my husband, and he was like, what are you reading? What are you reading? I don't want to read about ants. And I'm like, neither do I. I didn't know there were ants in this book. My husband really hates ants. But yeah, so there were a lot of like super memorable moments in this book, and I am curious what you guys thought of this. So if you stuck it out through the spoilers, congratulations. It was a wild ride, even just going back through that. So I am curious what you guys thought of the book. So let me know your rating. Let me know your most memorable moment. If you were to describe this book in one word, what would it be? So I'm very curious what you guys thought about this, because it was something. It was an experience for me. So I hope it was also an experience for you. But I'd like to know what you guys liked about the book. If you didn't like it, what you didn't like about the book. I'm very curious. And I think that's about it for this book review. It's a little longer than I wanted, but there was a lot to go through because there was a lot that happened. But yeah, I think that is it for this book review, and I will see you guys in the next one.